topics and opinions expressed in the following show are solely those of the host and their guests and not those of W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4CY Radio or its employees or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4CY Radio.
Welcome to Entrepreneurs Ascending, where we believe in a better life through better business. Here, we help you aspire to greatness, achieve your goals, and ascend to new heights. Whether you're starting, scaling, or exiting, we're here to empower you with inspiring stories, enlightening discussions, and transformative resources to help you accelerate your success. Now, it's time for Entrepreneurs Ascending. Hello, welcome to Entrepreneurs Ascending, and we hope that one of those transformative resources might be in the form of, a human resource with our guest here today. And that's what he helps people do, to transform to their authentic selves. Maybe he'll have some umbrage with the word I use, because maybe he's saying it's not really transform, it's just bringing it out. But we'll see here in a second. But welcome to Entrepreneurs Ascending. We are so glad to have you here. This show is about you and helping you have the information that you need to succeed, going from that startup through really building up $1 million, $2 million in revenue, or whatever kind of that mile marker might be for you, to scaling up and successful exits. And of course, that covers a lot, but one of the core areas that are critical is absolutely understanding yourself and helping your team become a better, higher form of who they are, letting it go, letting it out, so really being that authentic self. So with that, I'm going to introduce Jeff Koizatek, who's going to jump into this call here momentarily. Jeff?
Hey, here I am jumping into the call.
Wow.
What's up, Matt?
Hey, Jeff. So good to have you here, man.
I am excited to be here on the Entrepreneurs Ascending show with you, Matt Barbie, the guy.
I don't know about the guy, but I'm a guy, and with a show. And I don't know, they gave me a microphone and I started talking, so here we are. So this is
well, it's going to be great, man. I'm really thrilled to be here. You've had a huge impact on my business, and then with what we've been doing over at BDT, and now here we are. So let's do this, man.
Let's do this. Let's get crazy, man.
Let's get crazy. You want to get nuts? Let's get nuts. Come on.
All right. Well, all right. Well, Jeff, it's so great having you come on, and I appreciate those kind words, and you've had a huge impact on me throughout the years as well. We've known each other for, well, how long now? I guess 6, 10, some more, maybe ish.
6,10,100. Yeah.
Yeah. 60, 1000. That's about right. Yeah.
And when my kids were learning math growing up, they're like, it's 60, 1000. I'm like, I'm not sure that's even a word. But it was, and that's how long we've known each other.
Exactly.
And I really mean that, man. We got connected back before the pandemic, and then we were working on some stuff, and you helped me put some initial paperwork and promotional work together for my 1-for-1 program. And I really appreciate that at a time when the bottom was pulled out from underneath my business. Having somebody like you that I could talk with and bounce ideas off of, that was huge. So thanks.
Thank you, Jeff. I appreciate that, man. And that, it was an honor to be able to work with you, and you've had immense success throughout the years and impacted so many lives that it's an honor to be able to have impacted yours along the way too, man. And so thank you so much.
It's like an Air 5.
Yeah, boom. Maybe the double air chest bump. Like this? No, all right.
That just looks weird on video.
It really does. If you're only listening to this, you might want to go ahead and check it out on YouTube. There is an Entrepreneurs Ascending YouTube channel, and also on W4CY Radio's YouTube TV channel as well. So check that out. Check out the air chest bump, or don't. maybe.
Or don't. Or just check out everything else and just fast forward over that so that you.
Yeah, mark that moment, that second, so that you can just skip it.
Yeah.
So go back, listen to it. This is the moment. I'm going to skip that part. All right. So anyway,
let's
Jeff,
jump in.
Yeah, let's jump in because you've had kind of a great story, I think, behind where you're at today, and I think that's so critical in even getting into some of the deeper stuff about what I said about for the title, strategic authenticity, and what that means for your people's potential, or for the listeners, their people's potential, their team members, their employees, even maybe your customers and the people in your community. So, Jeff, tell me a little bit more about your story and how you arrived to core authenticity.
Wow. In a nutshell. There I was. Man, okay. In a nutshell.
I'm sorry. Shame on me. Bad podcast host.
Man, okay. Well, here's the thing. When I was growing up, I received two messages. One was on purpose and one was accidental. The purpose of the message was you are what you do. And I picked this idea up that my performance defined me, that my behavior defined me. And that was really big. If I wasn't performing well in school or in sports or in art, it seemed like people didn't really care to pay attention. Like I was not enough. I had to prove myself. The other message, oh my gosh, I've said this so many times. I flipped them. All right. If you're listening to this later, ignore everything I just said. Listen now. So tune in at 7 minutes and 5 seconds. That was the unintended message. No one ever actually said it out loud. It was their actions, right? If I made a piece of art, people were interested. If I was doing well in school, people wanted to notice. If I did well at school, then I was worthy of the dean's list, of the National Honors Society list, and all that other stuff. But no one ever actually said it. It was just implied. The message that they did say, the intended message, was find something you love to do and make that your job. That was the message I got from my parents. And I loved art and people, so I put that, my love of art and people, I married that with this message that you are what you do, and I became a massive workaholic. And It led me to be on stage and to craft an image that would hopefully make the audience smile and laugh and applaud and then want more. And all of a sudden I was worthy of people's time. All of a sudden I had significance.
So you defined your worth kind of in that response from the audience and feeling like that laughter.
Yes.
and that is like, well, I don't have value unless I get people laughing out there. Is that kind of?
No, that's exactly it, Matt. That's exactly it. And in that, I totally stripped the audience of their humanity. They were just objects that I needed to manipulate in such a way that got this reaction that then made me feel like I was worth their time. It was crazy. Now, in the middle of all that, there was seeds of authentic connection, and at the same time, there was this drive for performance. And so, when I met people off stage and I wasn't outgoing and I wasn't cracking jokes and I turned the wit down and I was just me and I was just asking questions or listening, then people were like, well, who the heck are you? That's not the same guy that I see on stage. And so it was like Batman and Bruce Wayne. It was very different. Or Clark Kent and Superman. I had the stage persona, and then the offstage persona. And people had a lot of trouble reconciling those. And I had trouble reconciling those. And I did not feel like I could be my authentic self. And that was like that for a long time. Then I met a coach. And the coach was like, hey, I can help you with some other things. And as we addressed those, one of the things that came out was this lack of congruency between the two. And I started to fight him. I said, well, there's juggling Jeff, the stage persona, and then there's Jeff Koizatek, the offstage guy. And sometimes I meet people and they're like, well, I don't like the Jeff Koizatek offstage guy. I like the juggling Jeff guy because he's outgoing and he's fun. And Jeff Koizatek is so introspective and asking questions and listening. And what is that?
What is that? Just juggle, Jeff.
Yeah, just juggle, dance, monkey, dance. Like that's literally what was happening. And so I thought that they were two different people and I had to pick one. And my coach was like, well, actually, you've got facets of you that are coming out in both sides. What if they're the same person? What if we actually brought them back together and found that congruency and that harmony and that level of authenticity? And we brought that out. And that changed everything for me. So I started to live from a place of core authenticity of who I was as a human being. And I started bringing that out at work and in my close relationships with my wife, with my kids, with my friends. And I have to tell you, once we hit that level of core authenticity, my life got a lot easier.
Well, tell me more about that now, because you just talked a lot about like your professional life, right? And that gap between juggling Jeff and just Jeff, right?
Yeah. Yep.
But
I
how
even
did
used that term.
Is that the term you used?
I
Juggling
did.
Jeff
I
and just
did.
Jeff?
I was like, stop referring to me as juggling. I'm just Jeff. I am just Jeff. I used that legitimately for years. I didn't mean to stop you. Please go. Please go.
I feel like this is conversational, so it's all right. It's all right. It's good. It's good, man. This is good. This is good.
Okay.
So yeah. So how did that affect though your personal life, with your wife and your kids?
Oh my gosh. Well, with my wife specifically, when we first got married, I thought I needed to tell her about my day every single moment.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
She
she didn't need that.
She did not need that. Her eyes would glaze over after like 5 minutes. And she'd be like, It made no sense to me because I thought I was only worth what I did. So naturally I had to tell her about everything that I was doing. And when she'd sit there and be like, Jeff, like, I like you. It's okay. Like, we can now pick up. Like, I had no idea how to handle that. It took me a long time to realize that my wife liked me for me, not for what I did. And I just thought, who the heck is this person? And what is wrong with you? Because I clearly have to show up and perform for your time. And so she was incredibly instrumental in helping me to make that shift. And when I started to stand on my core authenticity and just show up and be me, we had better conversations. Our connection as a husband and wife grew. And not only that, but as I looked at my kids, and my kids were really, really young at the time that this transition started to happen, this internal transformation or this internal acceptance of who I was as a person. So it allowed me to be more present for my kids, to look past their behavior and see who they were as a human being, to shift from performance focused to the performer underneath. And not only did it change my relationship with them, but it also changed the quality of work that I brought to the table, even as a performer, even as a speaker. And I believe it helped me to level up as a coach and better serve my clients.
That's amazing. That big transformation, and I think we'll get to a little bit more about maybe some of the nuts and bolts of how to do that. I mean, that might even be a whole nother time that we need to get together and get on here again. But because I mean, there's so much to unpack with this as well, and you said something before though. You said that you found a coach.
I did.
How did that? And it wasn't me, just folks, just so you know. Who was your coach? It was
my coach was Jeff Arthur with the Values Conversation.
Yeah, shout out to Jeff. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So So, Jeff, with the values conversation, tell me more about how that uncovered some of these things for you.
Well, when I met Jeff, I was having focus issues. Surprise, because my
Wait, come
worth
again?
and
Wait, that was
significance, right?
no.
It
Go ahead.
came from what I did. So I was saying yes to everything, man. I did
Mhm.
not know how to say no. I wasn't taking vacations. I wasn't taking time off unless I forced myself. And then even when I forced myself, I was still thinking about other things because I was I was in this state of constantly trying to prove that I was worth people's time. And when people said, Jeff, you need to find focus, like, how the heck do you do that when your worth comes from what you do? And if you're told to take what you love and make that your job, I didn't know how to say no. I was stuck. And we were doing this radio interview promoting an upcoming event, and off air, he just casually said, yeah, Jeff, I can help you with that. I can help you in an hour. And I was like, no, you can't. I've been working on focus for 4 years and I don't know how to let it go. And finally he said, okay, give me 2 hours. I'm like, oh, well, that makes so much more sense.
It's double.
Right? That's double the time. Okay, I that makes sense. 1 hour, ridiculous. 2 hours, totally legit. So we get together. He does exactly what he says he's gonna do, and he gives me the filter. But the big part of what he did for me was help me to shift from external worth to intrinsic worth and
Mm.
recognize that I had significance, that I had worth just in being a human being, not in what I call these five external areas of performance, appearance, property, circumstance, or relationships.
Mm.
He's like, all of that stuff is out here. You've got worth in intrinsic. You don't have to go prove yourself. You don't have to go earn anything. You don't have to justify your existence. You have worthiness just by being alive. And once I started to stand on that cornerstone, everything else was able to shift. And so now that's what I do as a coach. I help people shift and stand on that cornerstone of intrinsic worth. And then I help them build up a series of systems and processes and perspectives that can help amplify that and help realign to that. If they get off course, they can course correct back to this foundation and then live that out. That fundamentally shifts everything. And as an entertainer, not only, I mean, yeah, it started as a way to prove myself, but it was also a way to give back. It was also a way to impact other people. And as I started to stand on this new foundation, I recognized that my audience was incredibly diverse. But wherever I went, Matt, anybody that was in my audience, I started to recognize was wrestling with the same two questions. What is my worth and where does it come from?
What is my worth and where does it come from?
Those two questions, man, those impact everything else.
Wow. So, for a leader, how might that affect, the struggle that their team members might have and that they might have? How might this affect their ability to get people to work together, to align, to accomplish goals, to be engaged employees?
To show up and to collaborate and communicate and effectively get the work done?
Yeah, those things.
Oh, yeah. Well, I'm glad you asked. It's, I tried. I'm a simple guy. I try to make it super simple. If we're looking for external worth, we show up as the challenger. If we're standing on intrinsic worth, we show up as the champion.
Hmm.
We want a team of champions. If we're showing up as a challenger, that typically makes us the challenger mode either shows up as comparing, constantly comparing myself with everybody else, and often adopt a victim mindset. It's never good enough. I don't have it as good as them. Well, I would do better if I was given the same resources or the same opportunities. And it's a wah, wah, like kind of a Debbie Downer attitude. You remember Debbie Downer?
I remember and Negative Nancy.
Yeah,
Those
yeah.
two hang out a lot. Maybe even twins, I think.
Maybe. Just quite possibly. We'll have to do a DNA check on that.
Right.
Right? So when the challenger is out, we compare or we compete and we try to be the best at all costs. It's a lone wolf mentality. Or we contend. I'm going to be the best. And to make sure that I'm the best, I'm going to sabotage you so that you can't be the best. So I have to be the best. Or we start to control and we micromanage everything. There is no delegation. There is no empowerment of others. And it's all me. I'm the person that's going to make it all happen. It's a big savior mindset.
So people really externalize that value, and if they don't understand their intrinsic worth, if they aren't living that out or living for it, they are living for the external praise. They're looking for that
Yeah.
external validation from those people around them. And so
Right.
if something is not playing into that, or if there's a situation or a person that is not helping that to happen, then if you're not going to help, you're going to need to, get out of the way, right? Is
Yeah.
that kind of a fair way to say it?
That is a fun, fair way of saying it.
Okay, great.
Yes.
I'm just trying to re-summarize it there.
Yeah. I mean,
go ahead.
it's a Carol Dweck thing, right? When your challenger is out, you're using what Carol Dweck would define as a fixed mindset, or a scarcity mindset. And in my experience, everybody wants to feel like they are worthy, like they are enough, like they do matter. Like on a scale of 0 to 10, you're a 10, you are full, lacking nothing. And if we're looking for our worth outside of ourselves or our significance outside of ourselves, then that means that we don't have enough inside. So we automatically show up with a scarcity mindset, and we're trying to earn more, gather more, hold on to what we have. So we're not generous with our knowledge. We're not succession planning. We're not prepping the next person to take our position, because we have to hold on to what we've got, and we have to constantly earn more. And so we're always thinking about the next thing. We're never in the moment. We're never present where we are. So people don't feel listened. They don't feel heard. They don't feel seen. They just feel like objects or obstacles, because as a leader, we're constantly thinking about the next thing. We're not seeing the person in the camera, right? In the room with us. We're totally focused on ourselves. It's very self-focused, self-centered. And we compare, compete, contend, and control. That does not help communication. That does not lead to effective collaboration. That limits critical thinking, because now we're going to play it safe. So we're not problem solving. We're not trying to adapt to current trends. And we get stuck. That is not helpful.
Yeah. One thing that I've found is that a leader's strength, or a business owner's strength, or maybe even a CEO or a founder's strength, especially a founder, that often becomes a weak point in the business, because it's harder for them to let it go.
Yeah.
They feel challenged by anybody who's better than them at it.
Right.
And yeah, but if you ultimately want to be able to build a business that scales, a business that is exitable, you really need to have people who are effectively smarter and better at things than you, right?
You got to fill the gaps. You got to know what the gaps are, and then go fill them. If we're showing up as a challenger, then our worth is tied to our performance. And if my performance is how I'm doing in my particular role, and then let's say I get promoted to the next thing, and the next thing I don't feel really comfortable with yet, because I don't know it, or I'm going to make mistakes. What am I going to do, Matt? I'm going to hold on to what I know, what I'm familiar with, what makes me feel worthy and significant. So then I'm not going to be delegating to the next person. I'm not going to be grabbing the new responsibilities. I'm like, maybe not. Yeah.
Well, so it restricts your ability as a leader even to allow people to reach their full potential. So I think there's kind of like two elements of this, right? I mean, there's supporting your team members in their own journey for that core authenticity, right? And so that they can bloom and become all that they can be and all that. But then if we are not doing that, if we are not working on our own personal growth and living more authentically and being able to not have to put our value in, like you're saying, even like in your journey of the things that we do and what we're necessarily good at, even in our business, then we are going to always hold people down. We're going to hold people back from reaching their potential. Would that?
Yes. Well, I mean, you and I are both Maxwell guys. What does John Maxwell say? It's the law of the lid, right? The leader sets the bar. If you're going to grow above the leader, then you'll either self-select out because it's ridiculous, or you're going to play down to that bar and you'll just become content with the status quo, or you'll be underneath the bar and you will be not happy because you constantly trying to push up, and then the leader will make it so bad that either you're fired, you're let go, or you eventually, like we said, self-select out. When the challenger is in control, you walk around with a judgment stick and you're constantly comparing yourself to everybody else. And if I, to go back to the 0 to 10 analogy, if I feel like a 6, and Matt, I hold up the measuring stick and I think that you're an 8, that's going to make me feel bad. So I'm either going to have to tear you down to 6, or I'm going to have to puff myself up and pretend like I'm something else, right? And we got imposter syndrome. Or I start to inflate what's really going on. Now I adjust the numbers so I look better than I'm actually doing. Or I remove you, right? I find a way to cut you out of the organization, or I remove myself. I mean, those are really the only options. And all of that happens from that challenger perspective. Now, the champion, on the other hand, the champion recognizes that our behavior is unattached to my identity. Like, it comes from me, but does not define me. My success comes from me, but does not define me. Same with my mistakes and my failures. And so a champion can show up and say, hey, Matt, you're doing so much better at this than I am. I'm going to promote you. How can I help encourage you and move you along? Or, hey, this is something that I'm really good at. I'm going to totally double down here, and we're going to go. Oh, look, I made a mistake. That's okay. That's okay. There's an opportunity to learn here and find a way to do it better. Or we can receive the promotion, take on more roles and responsibilities, and make new mistakes and learn new ways of doing things, and not be destroyed. And that's really what we want. We want that champion approach.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So what are some signs or signals or symptoms maybe that I might be stuck in that, external view for value, as opposed to really in that core authentic self?
Like an assessment, like a quick check. How do I?
Maybe just a quick looky at what's going on. Maybe just a quick peek under the hood.
A peek under the hood, a looky loo.
Yeah, there we go. Looky loo. That's what I was going for. Exactly.
If I did a thermometer check to see where I was, the challenger. Let's talk about feedback. If you look at feedback, and feedback is all personal, that's usually a sign of the challenger is in charge. The champion will take a look at feedback and can assess, okay, well, what's specific about the behavior and what's about the person providing the feedback. So the champion can siphon out those two, and then can take a look at, okay, well, this feedback is actually about my performance. Now let me take a look at what I can use and what I can't. Right? Versus the challenger takes a look at the feedback and says, oh my gosh, all of this is about me. It's all about me. It's very, very personal. So that's one thing.
So you're saying if one thing is if feedback triggers a response of fear, of hurt, or of like, what does that feel like? Maybe if I'm in the external state,
it feels personal. It feels
like a
Like you
personal
said,
attack, or like it feels like it
yeah,
maybe puts me in a defensive state.
yeah. If I
Yeah.
automatically just jump to justification and defend what's going on, I feel like I need to justify that, or I need to explain everything, or if I feel like you're coming at me personally,
Mm.
that's all challenger stuff.
Okay. So fear, anger, um, and maybe putting on the defensive. Okay.
Yeah.
So let's say I'm in that core authentic state and I get feedback. What does that look like? What does that feel like?
Well, if the champion is there, the champion feels grateful for the feedback and curious.
Grateful and curious. Okay.
Yeah. And in the curiosity state, you could take a look at the feedback and look for specifics. And if there are no specifics in the feedback is just general, then the champion can respond to the feedback by asking for more. Say, well, what does this really mean? You say that this was um what was the word? We just had this the other
It
day.
wasn't Looky Lou though, right?
No, no,
Wasn't it?
it wasn't
Wasn't
Looky
Looky
Lou.
Lou.
The the feedback was uh we felt chastised. Like,
Mm,
okay, well, chastised is a feeling. What does that mean? So a champion will lean in and get specific feedback so that then the champion can decide, is this feedback something that I can use, and do we need to make a change, or is this feedback all about the reviewer, right? And
mhm.
more about them and their emotional state at the moment and how they perceived things. And okay, it's how they perceive things. So is this something that I can change to help with the perception or not? And if it
Okay.
is, then great, we can make the change. If it's not, then how can I walk with this person and meet them where they are? Why did they perceive it this way? How can we adjust their perspective and get them back on board?
Excellent. And so that first part of the assessment, that first step is, how do I take feedback?
Yeah.
Excellent. Okay. What's next?
Another way of just determining challenger versus champion. Challenger says, I'm the only one that can do it.
Get out of my way. It's better if I just do it. It's faster if I do it anyway. It's just, I'm gonna get it done, and it's gonna be out of the way. I might as well just do it anyway. That sort of thing.
Yeah. Uh, to, I am the only one. I am the only way forward. There's nobody else can solve this. It's just me. I am the savior in this particular situation. You can't do it on your own. I've got to do it for you.
Would the my way or the highway mentality play into this at all?
Yeah. Yeah. Also in that particular case, a challenger will take people and erase them of their humanity and turn them into objects to manipulate or obstacles to overcome. And
Mm,
often they will say things like, you have one job. You have one job. Why can't you just do the one job? What's wrong with you? I asked for a bacon egg cheeseburger. Bacon egg cheeseburger? Bacon egg.
you're talking about like a McMuffin, like a
Yes.
bacon, egg, and cheese McMuffin.
A
Yeah.
bacon, egg, and cheese. Yeah, that's what I want. Why can't you just give that? Why did you give me a ham and lettuce on fish? That's not what I asked for.
And that's, I mean, culturally speaking, here in the United States, that's really, out of left field. So that would,
Yeah.
but
Right? You got one job. Why can't you just do the
right.
one job? This is what I ordered. Your job is supposed to take my order and then give me my food. What? You're not solving.
You're not solving some sort of world crisis here. It's just a bacon, egg, and cheese. Well, maybe we should say big biscuit, because
Bacon, egg, cheese biscuit.
yeah,
Thank
because
you.
that's not copyrighted. Yeah,
Yeah. So what a
or
bacon, egg, cheese
trademarked.
biscuit.
Right.
Right. Right. That is challenger. That is challenger mentality. The savior approach and turning everybody else into objects that are just supposed to serve us and not get in our way.
Yeah, I mean, I see that a lot too, with just trying to blame everybody else, for their issues, and why can't you just figure this out? And I already told you this. Why do you need to know it again? And I see that a lot
Yeah.
with when we are helping our clients with the recruiting process and then the onboarding and the training. It's sometimes getting through that wall where they think, well, I know how to do this. Like they should just be able to pick it up and run with it.
Right.
Yeah, but you've
Right.
probably been doing this for 15 years, and you've had some background, and this person, maybe not, or maybe your way's a little bit different. So
Yeah.
yeah.
I used to own an entertainment company, and we were growing really fast. So my business partner and I, we hired a booking manager, and we thought she was great. We thought she had a great personality. She was very excited about what we were doing. And so we brought her into the company, put her in charge of our booking agency, the side of things. And then my business partner and I, we left to do a 5-month tour. Then we were no longer in the office. And then we started running into some problems on the booking agency side of things. And it was because she did not have the years of experience that we had. We made the assumption that she could just learn all that through osmosis by
Right.
being in the office with us for a few days. And at the time, we found our worth and significance in what we did. We were very performance focused, and she was messing with our performance. And so we got very upset, very angry. And at the time, we were expanding, so we weren't hiring. My mindset was not in hiring people, with humans. It was expanding myself and hiring extensions of me. And so she was an object, and she was not doing her job right. And I got so frustrated and took that out on her. We went through a lot of turnover, Matt. Surprise.
Wow. Yeah.
Right?
And I think this comes back to the strategic discussion of why it's important to understand these things, right? Because
Yes.
if you are in that mode, like you were saying that you were in before you had these realizations, you're hitting a lot of turnover, and it's not necessarily everybody else's fault because you're the common denominator.
No.
So
But in the moment, you think it's everybody else's fault. I'm like, you
Right.
have one job.
right.
Like
Right.
that's why I love coaching organizations, because I'm like, yeah, I've been there. I've made those mistakes.
Mhm.
And I like to think that I've learned those lessons. I mean, I still make mistakes today, but I'm making mistakes a lot less frequently, and the impact is a lot smaller. And when I start going down those roads, I recognize it quicker, and I can make the change. And so
Well, the
helping
wise
people do
words.
that
Oh, go
is
ahead.
huge. The
Yeah,
what?
absolutely. Oh, well, I was going to say in the wise words of the great philosopher Miley Cyrus, everybody makes mistakes. Everybody has those days. Everybody knows what I'm talking about. Everybody gets that way, right? Nobody's perfect. Got to work it. Sorry.
Yeah.
My daughter was of that Hannah Montana age, so that is
No, that reminds me of another great wise sage, Taylor Swift. Hello, it's me. It's me. It's me. Yeah,
Oh man.
that's good.
So we've got 2. How many more are there? How many more signs, symptoms, signals do we have?
There
to
are
go
a
through?
ton.
Okay,
There
one
are a
more.
ton.
One more. Just give me one more.
Okay, so to wrap up the savior bit, the savior does not delegate, not empower. The challenger does, or no, the champion does. The
Right.
challenger does not. Another thing that you could look at is if you are holding on to everything, the challenger will covet the secret sauce. The challenger is not about sharing knowledge or resources or opportunities. The challenger is very fearful of that. Versus the champion recognizes that the champion is more than their behavior, more than their knowledge, more than their collective experience. And so the champion will share that freely. Hey, this is what I learned, and here's how you can use this to succeed in your area. Or, hey, do you know so and so? You need to meet Matt Barbie because he's really well connected. He's one of the top 100 most influential people in St. Louis. Like, the dude is connected. You got to meet Matt. Or, hey, you know what? You need this resource so that you can succeed over here. The champion will pass all that on. The challenger is like, nope, I had to figure it out on my own. So do you. And if you
Mhm.
don't figure it out, you don't win. Oh,
Exactly.
well. So
Yeah.
it's a generosity thing.
Okay. So the generosity, since you said before, like a sense of abundance versus scarcity would be
Yeah.
part of it too. It sounds like, yeah. And that does come into play with it's hard a lot of times to learn how to delegate well and empower well. I
Mm.
think, like a lot of people, a lot of business owners, they don't understand that you got to make the time for that too.
Oh
You
my
know.
gosh. Right. And, and this just, I just learned this lesson again. When it comes to delegation, there is reckless delegation,
hmm
and then there's strategic delegation. And so
hmm
sometimes as business owners, we can feel so overwhelmed with everything going on. We're like, here, just take it. Just take it, right? And we
Right.
give them
Right.
everything. And then we
Yeah.
walk away, and then we come back and we're like, oh my gosh, what did you do? This is not what I was expecting. And we
Yeah.
try to figure out what's going on there, and it turns out that there was a miss on the engagement side. There was not a clear sharing of expectations on the deliverables. And there was just blind empowerment, right? Where there wasn't a
Yeah.
proper equipping of instructions. And
hmm
so to be able to slow down enough as the champion and say, let me empower you with something small and make sure that we're on the same page. And then if you're good with that and we're on the same page here, then I can empower you with something larger.
hmm
That's key.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I mean, Jeff, I find myself in that doing that same thing many times. I've got to catch myself doing it too, because it's easy to fall in that, even as a
Right.
coach and having that awareness. It's just so easy to get caught in that trap when you're busy. You got a lot of stuff going on.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think to be able to have that realization of, okay, I'm running around. I think
Mhm.
it still plays into exactly what you're saying. I'm running around and looking for that external validation still sometimes,
Yeah.
and saying, well, I've got to get these things done, or I'm gonna disappoint somebody, as opposed to, what, I know from to my authentic self, my values is to properly equip and empower my team members. I want to lift them up. I want to see them be successful. So I'm betraying that my core value if I'm not doing that. And
Oh.
and I got to have that realization and not be like, well, just explain it away because I didn't have the time, or I was too busy, or
Mhm.
something like that. So is that kind of along the lines of some of the areas that you help people uncover and see?
Absolutely. You were totally speaking my language, man. I wrote this book, Blueprint for Value. Just happen to have it right here,
Oh, that's convenient.
right? And it's divided into 4 chapters. You've got engage, equip, empower, and encourage. I'm
Mm,
really big on those 4 things. And also as a certified coach with the values conversation. So Jeff Arthur was not only my coach, but then he became my mentor and then became a really good friend. I'm certified with him. I'm also certified with the John Maxwell team. And both of those are all about value. So I am 100% in on helping people clarify what they value specifically. And then how do we apply those values moving forward?
yeah.
When we are in challenger mode, our values can become distorted and work against us, and then we stop engaging, equipping, empowering, and encouraging, and then we're all in on, I have to control everything, I have to compete, I got to be the best, I got to contend, I have to be the best and you have to be second. And or we start to compare and we fall into that victim, well, I'm just gonna check out. Why engage here? Because you're so much better than I am, or I'll never get there. And so that for us to surround ourselves with accountability, so we can get some outside perspective on, hey, Jeff, you're showing up as a challenger today. I noticed this, and this is not what you value, and this is not where you're at, so that we can shift back into champion mode, engage where we need to, equip with the right resources, empower ourselves, and our team to lead, succeed, or fail without judgment, and then encourage along the way. That's in my book, that is a non-negotiable.
In that book that you just showed us?
You mean this book right here?
That book. Yeah.
Yeah.
Blueprint for Value. Yeah. All right.
Blueprint for Value. Yeah.
Excellent.
Actually, habit 26 is fellowship. It's all about those 4 positions you need on your team. Mentors, cheerleaders, givers, and connectors. And those mentors and cheerleaders, those are the non-negotiables to make sure that we don't fall off the path too far. Like bumpers on a bowling alley.
Yeah. Well, and I liken values, to that point, whenever I talk to an organization and, we're talking about culture and we're talking about values and why we put values in or why we clarify values for a business. It's not because we need some decorative art on the walls. It's because they're the bumpers, the guardrails in the bowling alley, or I like to liken it to the guardrails on a mountain road. If we're trying to reach that vision up at the peak of the mountain, right? It's those guardrails that keep us from driving that bus. So we've got everybody in the right seats and the, whatever. Yeah. And,
Yes.
we got
Jim Collins. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. The right seats and the right people in the right seats. Yeah. And we're driving along
facing the right way in the right bus.
Right bus, right way. Right. Yeah. Yeah. Right. Although I always envision it going left up the mountain. I don't know why. I don't know. That's maybe I need to go the right. Yeah. So actually, I just had that realization. I always envision it going. Yeah. Anyway, so those guardrails keep you from flying off the edge of the cliff and exploding in a big fiery wreck, right? So,
that hits home for me really strongly right now, because I had a chance to go to Hawaii this past summer, and we drove the road to Hana, and holy cow, there are no guardrails, and that road is a 1-lane road most of the time, and there are a ton of bridges and a ton of switchbacks. And so, that's like that's like taking a busload of people, even if they're facing in the right direction, is sitting in the right seats, and they're all in the same bus, and we are going to the top. But if we don't have those guardrails, it's like putting core values up on the wall, but then never using them, or not even having core values in the first place.
Well, it can actually be antithetical. It can actually have the opposite effect, because if you see everybody running around not abiding by these values that we always talk about or that we have up on the wall, then it becomes a very toxic environment, because people are like kind of making fun of it, in a book, Unstoppable, and I'm blanking on the author right now, but he talks about like undertakers in the organization, and you can have undertakers who are kind of lower performing. They don't abide by the values, or just kind of like sucking the life out of the company. But you can also have high performing undertakers, and those are the folks that might be productive, but they're not doing it in accordance with the values of the organization. So it becomes very toxic and drags people down. People are like, well, why does he always get away with everything? Or why does they took my client, that was my sale, and stuff like that.
Oh my gosh. Those are the hardest ones to deal with. I shouldn't say hardest. They are very difficult to deal with, because you want the results, but then what's the sacrifice? That's why I love Extreme Ownership. In that book, one of the things that really stuck out for me was his quote, it's not what you preach, it's what you tolerate. So even if you say, here are our values, and even if you preach them at all of your meetings, and you talk about how they apply to the way we show up and the attitudes that we use and everything, if you allow a high performer to deliver these results, but then they act totally opposite of all of our values, then it doesn't matter how many times you talk about the values, everybody knows you don't really mean those values. What you really care about is the bottom line at all costs. And then you build that kind of a culture, and that's not sustainable.
Whatever it takes.
Sounds good.
Well, and then it can even be perceived as manipulative. So we've got these values on our website that our clients might really like, and like, oh, well, we definitely want to work with that company because they've got these great values on their website. But then it's not really actually how we operate the business. So really, if that's what you're doing, you're trying to manipulate some folks out there because it's not really who you are, right?
You know what that kind of control sounds like? It sounds like challenger behavior.
You're right. That's an excellent point.
just throw that out there.
Just tossing it out there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think it would be great to have you on another time. We've got some self-assessment here, so some ways for people to realize that they might be falling into those traps. And strategically speaking, they could be that lid. They could be that glass ceiling, that bottleneck holding people back.
Yeah.
And they might have challengers on their team. And this might help folks to see, maybe there's some support that they need. Maybe there's some ways to offer them some personal growth. What would you say, like, if somebody identifies this on their team, like, again, we need to probably get together sometime and have you on the show again and really talk about maybe some of the nuts and bolts of it. If you're willing to share, we'll have that conversation.
It's my stuff. I'm not sharing with anybody.
I know, exactly. I know you want to just hold it in for yourself. And you don't want to tell anybody else about it because, they might challenge you.
Actually, I'm working on a couple of Challenger Champion assessments. So we'll have those up on the website soon. There'll be a free one that anybody can take, and then there'll be a one that you can pay for that kind of breaks it down into the different areas of your life.
Nice.
Yeah.
What website would that be?
Oh, that would be coreauthenticity.com.
Oh,
right there.
That makes sense.
coreauthenticity.com.
So if you're only listening in, you can't see where he was pointing. So you're going to have to also go to the YouTube channel and check that out, just so you know where it's at on the screen.
Right. And right now, for a limited time only, if you go to the YouTube channel and check it out there, not only will you see the website, but you can also catch some juggling. What?
Oh, juggling Jeff. There he is.
Yeah.
You don't get that over audio. Well, you might have heard the balls clicking together, but
they do that from time to time.
Yeah. I'm not brave enough to juggle with hard objects. I only use actually up there on the screen back there, those are the John Maxwell juggling balls from the online event that we went 2 years ago.
What?
Remember that? Yeah,
you've got those?
Yeah, I've got those right there. You can't
look at that.
Maybe in the camera, but if you go to the YouTube channel, you can see them right there. They're actually up there. Yeah, so I can juggle a couple of times, but at the end of the day, I'm just Matt. So I'm not.
Well,
not juggling Matt.
The challenger feels incredibly overwhelmed. If you feel stressed and you are not able to say the word "not yes," that is challenger type stuff versus the champion. The champion is not overwhelmed. The champion can tell which objects that he can set down. He, she, they can set down which objects he can come back to way in the future, and which objects are critical and demand the constant attention. That's another way, right?
Excellent. That's another sign or signal or symptom. Excellent. Well, sir, we're running to the end of the time here. So
well, it's been fun, Matt. Thank you so much for having me on the show.
Well, thanks for coming. How would people get a hold of you if they wanted to do so, which I encourage you to do, people to do, the listeners, not for you to contact yourself, Jeff, just to be clear, but yes, for you.
Well, I think self-awareness is good, and self-talk, you got
Yeah. No, that makes sense. You should connect with yourself.
People can find me at coreauthenticity.com. That's my website. You can find my book. You can listen to the podcast. You can do all kinds of crazy stuff there. We got free assessments and everything. And I'm very active on LinkedIn. Just LinkedIn, Jeff Koizatek. But there's a link there. Should be a link on the website to LinkedIn. There's links for LinkedIn everywhere.
Very, very linky.
Linky. Coreauthenticity.com, LinkedIn.com, Jeff Koizatek.
And you when you mentioned the podcast on coreauthenticity.com, what's the name of your podcast?
Breakthrough Moments.
Breakthrough Moments.
Yeah, it's very meat and potatoes, like 15-minute episodes where I interview leaders, asking them what one of their biggest leadership mistake was, and then what they learned from it and how they apply that moving forward.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate your time. We'll see you later.
See you.
Thank you for being with us today. But now is the time to put what we talked about into practice. Remember, your family, employees, and community are depending on you to rise up and win. The great news is you're not alone. You're part of a resurgence of entrepreneurs who are ready to take their business, life, and impact to the next level, and we're going to do it together. This show is powered by Time for Success, where we help business owners every day who want more freedom and wealth while building a legacy of positive impact. Please follow Time for Success on LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube for more helpful strategies and tools for creating the business and life of your dreams.